Is this okay? In an empty library, I was quietly working with a beautiful teacher. At her words, I couldn't help but exclaim, "It's wonderful." From that day on, she changed my lack of confidence. I'm Kent. I'm a 27-year-old single man working as a social studies teacher. Until last year, I was a tutor, but I wanted to be involved in school education, so I took the teacher's certification exam. I passed and started working at a private middle school this year. However, my life as a teacher has not been going smoothly. Oh, not again. I sighed heavily as I read through the students' course evaluation surveys. According to the surveys, 70% of the students found my classes boring. Their test scores weren't much different from the other classes, but the fact that they found my lessons uninteresting was a problem. I thought I could handle it well since I had worked as a tutor. But I hadn't been able to adapt to the school environment even in the second semester. Looking back at myself, it might be understandable. I was always good at studying but bad at making conversation and having fun chats. Because of this personality, I'm embarrassed to say that I've never had any romantic experiences. My biggest worry was that I couldn't make my lessons as enjoyable as other teachers. I wanted to be proactive in answering students' questions, but they rarely approached me, and the only words we exchanged were greetings. Maybe I'm not cut out to be a teacher. I was losing confidence because I couldn't behave the way I wanted to. I pursued a degree in education because I admired my homeroom teacher from middle school. Mr. Ian's words, "Kent, you're serious and could become a great teacher," saved me countless times. But in reality, my students found me a nuisance. I felt pathetic, but soon a helping hand was offered to me. One day, as I was organizing materials at my desk in the staff room, someone suddenly spoke from behind. "Kent, may I have a word with you?" The one who spoke to me was Michelle Nolan, the school librarian. The librarian not only manages the library but also guides students in using it. Michelle is 7 years older than me, 34, beautiful and well-liked by the students. With her apron and wavy brown hair, she has a graceful aura and is very attractive. In addition, her cat-eye glasses give off an intellectual sparkle, making her even more mesmerizing. Since my subject was social studies, I hadn't had much interaction with her, so I was surprised when she spoke to me. "Yes, it's fine." "What is it?" Michelle then said something unexpected. "Actually, we are planning a history exhibition in the library for the fall, and I was wondering if I could ask for your help." Me, helping in the library? Michelle is a professional when it comes to books, but I am a complete novice in library education. I didn't think I could be of any help. But when Michelle asked me, "Would you like to come to the library?" and as I was invited, I stepped into the library with her. I hadn't had the chance to look around carefully before, but the library was now decorated with colorful autumn leaves, reflecting the fall season. I realized I hadn't been to the library in a long time, being so busy with work. Initially, I was reluctant to follow her. I soon found myself engrossed in the history section. "Oh, this book looks interesting. It's got cute illustrations that students might enjoy. If you found a book you like, I'm delighted." I plan to choose books on Western history, so I wanted to get your opinion. Western history is perfect since the second-year students are studying it now. The timing is great. I'd be happy to help. Although I was reluctant at first, I soon found myself smiling and agreeing to her proposal. We needed to organize the exhibition's concept, so I borrowed about 10 books from the library. Seeing me with my arms full of books, Michelle smiled sweetly. "Oh my! You're borrowing so many books, you must really like reading." "Yes. Coming to the library after so long made me want to read a lot." Feeling that this alone was a major achievement, I went home and devoured the books. Western history, with its vast settings, is full of dramatic events, and I was once again captivated by its appeal. Initially, I considered selecting topics from specific periods, but ultimately, I decided to focus on well-known historical figures like Marie Antoinette and Queen Victoria, summarizing their major episodes. I quickly created materials on my computer and handed them to Michelle the next day, and she was quite surprised. "Kent, this is amazing. I can't believe you put together such comprehensive materials in just one night. But wasn't it tough for you? You also have your own classes to prepare for." Seeing her apologetic expression, I shook my head vigorously. "Not at all. I actually enjoyed compiling the materials so much that I couldn't stop. I hope I can convey the excitement I felt about history as a kid to the students. When I said that, Michelle smiled happily. Thank you for your kind words. I'm glad to hear that. Thanks to you, I'm confident the history exhibition will be a success. I look forward to working with you. I continued to discuss the plan thoroughly with Michelle, and the day before the fair, we stayed late to prepare the displays. We had kept the details of the exhibition under wraps and worked quietly on the preparations. Kent, is this okay? Michelle had prepared a wonderful display based on the materials I had provided in advance. She created many beautiful decorations like roses and crowns and arranged them charmingly with the books. It's fantastic. I'm sure the students will love it. The history exhibition, which I welcomed with such confidence, exceeded my expectations, and many students visited the library. This comic is about the French Revolution. It's right in our exam range, looks good. A male student picked up one of the displayed comics and flipped through it, so I instinctively spoke to him. That comic is one I read when I was a student, and it's great for test prep. The author also has a comic on geopolitics. So you might want to check that out too. The student listened intently to my words and borrowed both the Western history and geopolitics comics. Later, he reported back to me, saying it was interesting. It was so engaging, I read it in no time. I recommended it to my friends too. Please let me know if you find any other good books. Seeing the student smile brightly, I felt that my hard work on the materials was worth it. Following this, many students started asking me for book recommendations on history and geography. To my delight, I found myself naturally conversing with the students through books, solving the dilemma of how to interact with them. I had been obsessed with the idea that I had to say something interesting, but it turned out that wasn't necessary. By researching books and relating them to my classes, I learned through this reading fair that the students would eventually connect with it. Having worked as a tutor, my classes naturally focused only on test prep, but it was no wonder the students weren't interested in the lessons. Whenever I visited the library, Michelle would help me find books relevant to social studies, encouraging me to read even more to deliver valuable lessons. I've got a new book on geography. Please check it out. Thank you. I really appreciate you always informing me about good books in advance. Michelle smiled and said, Kent, you're a knowledgeable social studies teacher and dedicated to class preparation, so I knew you'd excel at the history exhibition. Thanks to your detailed materials, the students are reading more than ever, which is wonderful. Despite the prevalence of internet, learning through books is still invaluable. Hearing Michelle's words, I nodded deeply in agreement. I had been so focused on efficiently conducting classes that I had forgotten the true joy of learning. Perhaps Michelle had invited me to the exhibition because she noticed my struggle with student interactions. However, Michelle never revealed her true intentions and continued to help me find books. I think there's a good book on this shelf. Oh. As she climbed the step stool to reach a high shelf, Michelle lost her balance and nearly fell. Watch out. I rushed to her and instinctively caught her, preventing her from falling. Grabbing her shoulder before she fell, neither of us got hurt. However, our faces ended up very close, making my heart race. Oh dear, I can't believe I almost fell off the step stool. Michelle blushed and awkwardly stepped away from me. It was the first time we had been so close, and it felt strange. Feeling slightly awkward, I said, I'll come back later, and left the library early that day. I needed time to sort out my thoughts. I had always thought of Michelle as a wonderful woman, but today made me realize that I liked her. Otherwise, why would my heart beat so fast? But I couldn't imagine someone as beautiful as her being with someone as dull as me. I wanted to avoid making a reckless confession and ruining my relationship with Michelle. So, I continued visiting the library, harboring my feelings for Michelle without expressing them. As long as I could be near her, that was enough for me. While I was leading these monotonous days, my uncle suddenly suggested a marriage meeting. My uncle, who is also a teacher, wanted to introduce me to a librarian. Apparently, the match was suggested because my uncle and the woman's parents were college classmates. At first, I intended to decline, but my uncle was unusually insistent. According to him, marriage was essential if I wanted to advance in my career at school. Considering his long career as a teacher, I figured he had my best interests at heart. Eventually, I agreed to meet the woman in 2 weeks at a cafe. Unconsciously, I must have shown my anxiety about the upcoming meeting. When I visited the library as usual, Michelle noticed and asked, "Kent, you seem unsettled lately. Is something wrong?" I ended up telling her about the arranged meeting, and as usual, Michelle gave me a sweet smile. "Oh, I see. It's hard to meet people at school, so please enjoy it." It seemed I was still just a student in her eyes. I thanked her with a thank you, feeling a little heartbroken, and the next week I headed off to the arranged meeting in my suit. At the cafe, I met a beautiful woman with black hair, just as in the photo. Her name was Renee. She was a 24-year-old librarian. Although we had a pleasant conversation over coffee, I felt no special emotions towards Renee. It seemed she felt the same, as she explained she had come to the meeting at her parents' suggestion. "Actually, I want to focus on my work right now. I'm sorry, Kent, for making you come here today. But I had no intention of pursuing anything further with her, so I didn't mind. Don't worry about it. I'm in my first year after passing the teacher certification exam, and working at a school is really tough. Yes, I became a librarian because I admired the librarian who helped me in middle school, but I still have a long way to go to be like them." Renee then shared her story from middle school. She had no close friends and felt isolated at school. Attending school was painful, but the librarian welcomed her warmly, providing a place for her in the library. I wasn't interested in reading at first, but Ms. Nolan introduced me to many fascinating books, allowing me to escape into the world of imagination. No matter how hard life gets, there are wonderful things like in books, Ms. Nolan, Michelle encouraged me. What a wonderful teacher. Wait, what did you just say? Michelle, the librarian I knew, was also named Michelle Nolan. I thought it might be a coincidence, but as we confirmed each other's descriptions, we realized we both knew same Michelle. To my surprise, Renee was one of Michelle's former students. This revelation sparked an enthusiastic conversation. Ms. Nolan is beautiful, kind, and truly a wonderful teacher. Yes. Thanks to Michelle, I've been able to teach better lessons. I'm really grateful to her. As we praised Michelle, Renee suddenly turned serious. Kent, you love Ms. Nolan, don't you? What? Caught off guard by her accurate guess, I admitted, yes, I do. Renee then spoke earnestly. From our conversation, I think you two are a great match. Please, act in a way that you won't regret. Renee. Thank you. I never expected to be encouraged by a woman at a marriage meeting. I thanked her repeatedly and resolved to express my feelings for Michelle. The next day, as usual, I went to the library, and Michelle asked, "How did the meeting go?" Uncertain of her true feelings, I honestly replied, "She was nice, but there was no progress." She looked slightly troubled but kindly said, "I see. But I'm sure you'll find someone wonderful, Kent. If you'd like, I could marry you myself." Michelle laughed as she spoke, but I stared at her seriously. "If you really mean that, it would make me very happy. Because I like you, Michelle." What? As expected, Michelle was stunned by my unexpected words. It seemed I had made a mistake. But I had conveyed my feelings honestly, so I had no regrets. Sorry for saying this out of the blue. I'll leave for today. Please don't worry about it. As I tried to leave the library quickly, she suddenly grabbed my hand firmly. Wait, please. It's fine. Really, don't worry about it. No, you don't understand. I like you too, Kent. Please let me tell you how I feel. I turned back, confused by her words, and saw her standing there, her face flushed red. I've always been afraid that being 7 years older would be a problem, so I never said anything, but I like you too, Kent. I love talking about books with you, and now, I look forward to your visits to the library more than anything. I never imagined Michelle felt that way about me. Realizing I needed to express my feelings too, I faced her directly. Really? I've never even dated anyone before. I thought someone as beautiful as you would never be interested in a boring guy like me. I've had the same experience. I've always been absorbed in books, spending my days off at the library, which led to several breakups. But working with you has been so much fun and fulfilling that I realized I could only feel this way with you. You're not a boring guy at all. The way you connect with your students is truly admirable." When she looked up at me and said that, I couldn't hold back my emotions any longer and instinctively took her hand. I also felt she was the only one I could spend my life with. "Thank you. You're the only one who says that. I am who I am now because of you." I wanted to continue working together for the sake of education. I fell in love with her because I witnessed her passion for education. Michelle and I started dating and got married a year later. At our wedding, I surprised her by inviting Renee, which delighted Michelle. "I never thought you would become a librarian, Renee. That's because you have always been my role model," Renee said, tears of joy streaming down her face. "You once told me that wonderful things happen if you keep living, and this is one of those things. Your wedding look is beautiful, Ms. Nolan. I wish you both a lifetime of happiness." Being celebrated like this by her former student must have made Michelle very happy. My beloved bride also shed tears of joy from her clear eyes.